Remember back in 2020 when we had that whole fentanyl Floyd meltdown thing, had Chop and Chaz and rioting and that craziness? Well, anybody from the far left at that point in time could run for office on a platform of save the monkeys, whatever it was. Didn't matter what their work skills were, if they had any work skills. Yeah, let's put them in office. This is going to be great. Well, those days are over. Los Angeles voters overwhelmingly ousted far-left District Attorney George Gascon. Now, he's one of George Soros's boys, right? Yeah, how'd that work out? Oof. Not good. Let's get into it. Here we go.
The message is that the voters of LA County rejected extreme pro-criminal policies that Gascon had, the current DA, Gascon, had brought in about 4 years ago, where he said that certain crimes and certain criminals will not be prosecuted, notwithstanding the facts of the law. And I rejected those decarceration policies.
That was Los Angeles County District Attorney-elect Nathan Hochman talking to Fox and Friends this week after defeating progressive DA George Gascon, whose soft-on-crime policies sent crime soaring and alienated many of his prosecutors that worked under him. Our next guest is one of those prosecutors who says crime is illegal again after Gascon's defeat. LA County Deputy District Attorney Shea Santa joins us now. Shea, tell us how much Gascon lost by. I'm just kind of curious because I know LA is a liberal area.
Gascon got destroyed. It was a blowout. It wasn't even close.
So this pendulum is obviously swinging to the law and enforcement side of things. Tell me how the prosecutors and the cops are feeling right now, because they were fighting Gascon instead of crime at one point here.
Correct. The office was a very hostile work environment while Gascon was in office. And now, as soon as election results came in and it was clear that Gascon got blown out, morale's up. Law enforcement have been calling and texting, congratulating the DAs. There's a change in the regime, and the hostile work environment feels like a weight has been lifted. Now we're just waiting for Nathan Hochman to come in and let us do our job. We spent most of the last 4 years fighting the Gascon administration and worrying about retaliation, then worrying about prosecuting cases. He's tougher on the prosecutors than he is on criminals. I mean, criminals are his best friend. They're getting his name tattooed on them while he's punishing prosecutors and suspending them and sending armed law enforcement to their house with threatening letters.
Hochman, a former federal prosecutor and a Republican turned independent, won the race with 61.5% of the vote to Gascon's 38.5%. Massive blowout. This according to Los Angeles County Registrar vote totals as of Wednesday morning. The Associated Press called the race for Hochman early Wednesday. Gascon's defeat is the latest in a string of losses. Man, there have been so many losses. You got Proposition 36. You got Chesa Boudin in 2022 kind of started this off because he was in office for not very long. And all of a sudden, Yep, recall. We've got Oakland's mayor, Sheng Tao, gets tossed this election cycle in a recall. Gascon's defeat is the latest in a string of losses for Golden State Democrats who were swept into office, promising a progressive vision on crime and punishment. Residents of California, what did you think would happen? It's like defunding the police here in Seattle. I know you guys did some of that as well. It's going to be great. We're just going to give the money to the community and fund a handful of social workers. It should all be good. We don't need those cops, those pesky cops. They just run around gunning all of us down. You know what I mean? It's just like, whoa, where's your head? They're not gunning you down. And every now and then somebody does something stupid and they get killed. It's the residents. It's not guns. It's the residents. And by residents, I mean those who have guns illegally oftentimes that are running around shooting each other. And that's why we have the amount of gun violence we do. And oftentimes it is gang related, right? Let's just call a spade a spade. It's gang related. In 2022, voters in San Francisco recalled their far left prosecutor, Chesa Boudin, whose parents were in prison for decades and decades, and then overwhelmingly passed a pair of tough-on-crime ballot measures earlier this year. Preliminary results show that fed-up voters in Oakland and Alameda County also recalled Mayor Sheng Tao and far-left district attorney Pamela Price. So you've just got a partridge in a pear tree of progressives just getting booted, along with Kamala Harris, the farthest left-leaning person in the Senate. I mean, she was supporting Black Lives Matter. She was supporting defund the police. She was supporting all that. And then saying, well, I'm the only one I'm not a convicted felon. And I'm the only one that's really been prosecuting crime. How's the crime deal going in San Francisco? How's the crime deal going in California? What's that looking like? It's looking like the voters, the constituents who are known to be wildly liberal in San Francisco and in Oakland are saying, no, we need somebody more reasonable here. We need somebody more moderate. Go F yourselves. We're either not voting you back into office or we're recalling you because you're so bad. Sheng Tao, so bad. Pamela Price, so bad. Preliminary results show that fed-up voters in Oakland and Alameda County also recalled Mayor Sheng Tao and far-left District Attorney Pamela Price on Tuesday over their soft-on-crime approach to the disorder in that community. You enjoy this content? Make sure you head on over to reasonabletv.com. That's got our members-only section. And in that, you can see this fine video. Now, this was a big hit. Popular YouTuber reportedly kidnapped in Haiti. Oof, wouldn't want that. Supposedly while trying to meet barbecue. Gang leader, right? Chasing barbecue YouTubers risky gamble. So if you want to do that, if you want to check out that content, it's $3.99 a month, $39.99 a year, 14-day free trial. You can dip out if you want to. You won't be disappointed. For $3.99 a month, it's good content. I release a couple of videos a week. Thanks for considering. Disorder is one way of putting it. The result in Los Angeles wasn't really in doubt. An early October poll by the University of California, Berkeley, UC Berkeley, showed Hochman with a 30-point lead over Gascon. Not even close. Not even close. A more recent poll showed Gascon down by 25 points. Just an absolute shellacking. While the final votes haven't been tallied, all indications the voices of the residents of LA County have been heard, and they're saying enough is enough of George's policies, and they look forward to a safer future. Well, you got George Gascon, but you still got all these folks that are in political positions in California. You're not going to get rid of just a handful of people, a prosecutor here or there, district attorney here or there. You're not going to get through with a whole bunch of people because you still got a whole bunch of judges who are just going to be like, yeah, no, not so much, not so much. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe California will just make an utter U-turn and go conservative and go, moderate. I don't think so. This is ingrained, right? But the fact that we've had these election results kind of tells you where we sit. 2020 is in the rearview mirror, and moving forward, yeah, we've seen what that looks like. Maybe 8 years down the road. Hey, you know what sounds really good is defund the police. No, absolute ridiculousness. Gascon was elected during the 2020 Black Lives Matter racial reckoning, promising progressive change and restorative reform in California's biggest city. I mean, it just always kills me when you talk about progressive change. You mean letting a bunch of criminals roam around? You mean that? Restorative reform. Exactly what are you restoring? You are not restoring law and order, are you? No. You're going the opposite way. You're just crushing it. He vowed to abolish cash bail. Nice job. Well done. To lighten sentences for gang members. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. How in the world does that make any sense at all? They are the majority of the gun violence that's out there. It's not just guns hopping up and shooting other gangbangers. It's gangbangers doing that. Got to throw them in jail. And to stop prosecuting juveniles as adults. If they commit an adult crime, prosecute them all day long. Get them off the streets. They're making bad decisions like that as a kid. They're going to make them as an adult. Let's get them off the streets. Incarcerate them. To stop pursuing life in prison without parole. You know what? Some dudes deserve life in prison without parole. Yeah. This whole notion of justice reform is just, it's ridiculous. It's pie in the sky. Hey, maybe if we just let them out and, they'll be better people once they get out, recognizing that their freedom is at stake and they, commit a crime. They rape somebody 48 hours after they get out. That's all I know. You know what I mean? It just makes no sense. And to stop filing sentencing enhancements in most cases, just meaning you're piling up the sentencing one on top of each other, right? Voters quickly soured on that approach what was your first clue? Voters quickly soured on that approach as crime and homelessness exploded in Los Angeles and across California. They have here in Washington as well. We just didn't have quite as many nut jobs as California did, and we were able to kind of rein it in. But what we've got here in Seattle is we've got voters here who they could care less. They are progressive and they want progress, meaning all the things we just talked about, they're okay with. They're okay with that stuff. It's really wild. But big liberal city, Democrat-run leadership. What else do you expect? You can't expect much more, right? Before his defeat on Tuesday, Gascon survived 2 recall campaigns during his term as district attorney. This guy, these folks, it's so hard to get people out. Don't vote them in the first place. If you see somebody and it says progressive by their name, know what you're going to get. People in Chicago, you know what I'm talking about? Let's go, Brandon Johnson. How's that working out for you? Millions of dollars that has been spent on the illegals because let's go, Brandon Johnson decided, we're going to be a sanctuary city. We're going to do the same thing the other guys in the sanctuary cities are doing. Sensing his vulnerability, a long list of candidates, including 5 members of his own office, talking about George Gascon, lined up to challenge him in the March primary. They lined up hard and they lined up early. They were just sitting there going, Oh, the tide has turned. It's go time. Let's bring reasonable back to Los Angeles. And I've read story after story after story about how in George Gascon's office, he literally gave precedent to the criminals. Make that make sense. How does that have any sense of justice? Think of all the victims that have just been left out to hang and dry. Explain that to their loved ones. You know what I mean? All these people that are dead, impacted, whatever. Somebody got shot, somebody's no longer going to be able to work. Well, George Gascon. He's progressive. He's got a lot of progress going on. And his own attorneys just hate him. Because they're not allowed to do their job. If George Gascon was a sheriff, his only job as a progressive in this notion would be to not arrest people, make sure they don't get incarcerated, make sure they can just run around and basically terrorize the community. That would be his job description. Make that make sense. It doesn't, right? But folks in California and Los Angeles, you thought this is going to be great. This is going to be an excellent thing. Let's do this. Let's vote him in. And you did. 2 recalls and an election later. He's out. What's the cost, though? At what cost? At what cost did you pay, Los Angeles, City of Angels? Not good. But you know what? It seems like the collective memory of voters in these districts, it's very, very short. Because they're continually going through one of these cycles. And even though California did vote much more red this campaign season, this election season, there's still a lot of local races where like, progressive, it's going to be the greatest thing ever. And then, crime just spikes. And that's one of the things with the whole George Gascon thing. Crime absolutely rocketed upwards. I mean, so fast that the FBI is just struggling to keep those stats down, right? I mean, we need to rework those down the road. Okay, boys, let's release it as they are now, and then we'll just revise them later. And I mean, that's literally what you've got going on. We've covered that on a podcast as well. So George Gascon, he's out, but this was kind of a foregone conclusion. But so California and a lot of other states that have absolutely ridiculous folks in office like this, that they learned very quickly that, justice reform just means letting the bad guys go and screw the regular human that is not in the legal system. We don't really care about you. We only care about criminals and, how little of a sentencing that they're going to serve. That is the message under George Gascon. That was the message. Hey, let these guys go. Let them be free. If you love something, set it free. Well, George loved crime. George loved the felons. George loved people getting out of prison. So that's what he did until he didn't. And so now he's out. It'll be interesting. See how things change around. It's going to take some time. I mean, you don't magically, flip out a district attorney and then things just turn right back around. You're going to have some major pushback because all of a sudden these communities that are all so progressive, hey, you're actually arresting and incarcerating people. What are you up to? What are you doing? Yeah, you're going to have major pushback in that form as well. But any of this stuff, it's so crazy, isn't it? That this is literally what we're talking about. And we put a progressive in office and crime and homelessness exploded. Weird. Who would have thought? All right. That's it for me on this one. Thanks so much for being here. I'd love to have you subscribe, do all that good stuff. I'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.